Awesome. Let me let some more folks in. Boom. But yeah, this is going to be really, really tactical. And there's a lot here to unpack with frames and identities. And I've listened to a ton of people's sales calls. I've been on a bunch of sales calls. I've heard nobody in the world label as well as Mr. Sanchez here. So he's going to take you through a lot of this. I'm going to expand on it. We have tons of tactical ideas. So you can get into the subtle art of influence. Again, there's not going to be this one magic phrase that you say and get all the sales all the time, but it's these nuances, and you're going to understand all those tactical nuances as to why we do them, and these subtle little phrases that lock people into an identity, control their focus, and really put them in what we call that buying pocket where they want to move forward. And it's almost impossible for them not to, based on how they self-select, how they frame themselves, how they label themselves. It's huge. It's huge. And it makes your sales process so much easier and enjoyable for everyone. So you're getting the cheat codes today. What's up, Patrick? I think we got.
I love it. And Eli, if you want to make me co-host, I can let people in as we go throughout the day today. And thank you guys for all the comments. It's always fun when it's an active group in the Facebook group. I just saw Salette's comment, which was super cool. So many of you talked about the homework that you did. And then actually, again, Eli Wild asked you to do that homework for a reason. Like when you go through your own buying process, you go, oh, wait a minute, this would help me buy. I could be better at that myself when I'm trying to sell. Yeah. Right. And so really good stuff. Celeste, we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who did the homework and actually posted it. If you haven't posted it yet, go ahead and post it in the group when you get a chance. It's helpful for other people, I think, too, so we can just see the ins and outs of why people buy. Of course, we're going to go over that today. And Eli touched on it already, but today is, we kind of think of this like we're going like if we think of a funnel, high level, and then we're going to get more granular on like the tactics and things to say. But one of the most important things to understand first is frames and identities. We talked about this last week, and I think someone asked me to repeat it, so I'll repeat it again. One of the most powerful things in the entire human decision-making process is people's need to stay consistent with who they believe they are.
Yeah, Sigmund Freud said the strongest force in the human psyche, the human identity, is to remain consistent with how we see ourselves. And so we're going to create some labels for folks, and they are going to follow suit. And it's an unconscious need. On the doc that'll be part of your homework, I really expand into it. And there'll be exercises on each one of the frames with examples, but you'll want to really think through your prospect, your avatar, your buyer, your needs, and how you can begin to use some of these frames to put them into an identity, lock them into an identity where they commit to this person. And so you're going to see it. It's going to flow really well. And so you're going to hear the exact tonality. You're going to hear what it sounds like. It's very subtle, but it's very powerful. And it's going to put people in an identity where it makes them want to buy. And so we've all got two parts of ourselves. We're all a bit schizophrenic. Every no person has a yes person inside of them, and a yes person has a no person inside of them. What shifts it is their identity, what they're focused on, and the meaning they attach to your product, your service, and you. And so we're going to control that focus and label them when we see them moving in the direction we want. And we're also going to find a way, we're going to show you how we can vilify the negative behavior we don't want them to do. And so they're going to follow suit. It's literally sales magic.
Woo. So in the chat, drop this in the chat. Agreement mode. Agreement mode. That's one of the most important things that I do on all my calls. I create this like really strong congruency between our connection between me and the prospect, where I'm just consistently agreeing with what they're saying. Like, okay, that makes sense. Totally. I could see that. Okay, so you've done the research. Smart move. Got it. It's like I'm consistently guiding them, where I'm almost encouraging them to continue to talk. But like, I am doing a good job. I am intelligent. I am reasonable. I am helpful. And I'm just putting a little bit of light to that. That's the type of person they are. And even when I'm adding my own stuff, it sounds like I'm agreeing with them. Because when people agree with you, it feels good, and you don't have a filter and you agree back. We're going to explain that deeply later on, but just remember that agreement mode. And just so we know who is on a laptop or a computer versus who's on the phone. If you're on a laptop or a computer, put a 1 in the chat. And if you're on your cell phone, put a 2 in the chat. Because I like this part. Good. So if you're on a laptop or computer, it looks like most of us are, and you hold down the space bar, it should take you off of mute if you hold it down. So let's try it. Everyone hold down the space bar and say agreement mode.
Agreement
mode.
Agreement mode.
Woo!
Wow,
It
that's so
works.
much more fun. It works. Okay, cool. We're not just talking to ourselves. This is more fun now. Okay, cool. So we'll go into a lot of stuff around agreement mode. I think one of the interesting things to us is Eli and I are lucky enough. A lot of you know, we often get our own mentors, right? We also go to other, events, and we always try to learn from as many people as possible. And we talked to one of our programs are in, a guy named Myron, and we're at dinner with him, and he sold $3.8 million in 27 minutes, and he sold hundreds of people. And we're at dinner with him, and we're asking him kind of about his structure for how he does it. And he said, Eli, if you understand frames, nothing is off limits. He started talking about frames, right? And we're like, that's the game we talk about too. We've been teaching this for years. He's taught all about frames. Fast forward a couple of weeks ago, Eli and I are in Miami at an event with another friend of ours, Marcel, and Marcel closed someone for $850,000 paid in full. One person, $850,000. And he said, it's all about you guys already know.
What is it?
Frame.
What's the word?
What's the word? The frame. It's so important, right? The frame is just the perspective or the lens you give someone to look at the situation. And if you kind of guide the frame that they see the problem with, or they see themselves with, you can help them make the decision that you want them to make. So we're going to go over those. If you remember from last week, I talked about, I always want people to feel intelligent, reasonable, and helpful. We're going to give you guys a couple more, just a couple more, and then I'm going to show you how I guide that throughout the call. So intelligent, reasonable, helpful, and I'm going to give you, it's actually 3 more, but kind of 2 more. The next one is that they feel open to support. Why? Because someone might feel intelligent, reasonable, helpful, and they might go, Kathy, you are amazing. It's been so fun talking to you. I loved your energy. I can tell your product is really great. This is awesome. I'm going to let you know. Right? Because they might think, well, this sounds great, but maybe I can do this on my own. Or this sounds great, but maybe I don't really, now that I think about it, maybe I can probably work on this a little bit on the side first. And then if I need help, I'll come back to you. Right? So they have to feel open to support. So you have to guide them ahead of time. If you're trying to handle that at the objection stage, yes, there's cool techniques. We'll show you those. But they have to feel open to support. So asking certain questions in agreement mode, where you ask about their history and they go, oh, I signed up for this one product. It makes sense that you're actually looking for help. Study after study show you're going to go farther and faster with support. I'll plant a seed. It makes sense. I mean, study after study show you go farther and faster with support. Or it totally makes sense. Of course, you're going to have more success. You have a second pair of eyes on you.
Yeah, we're creating that identity, and we talk about this too in the 10 clarities. Like, are they coachable? Do they want support? So getting them to identify as somebody who's looking for support. And by the way, they are. And sometimes that comes up at the end. Oh, I'm going to do it on my own. But if they've been committed and consistent to that identity, and we frame them in a way, they start justifying to themselves that they need support. And so you're going to get exactly what Eli says, exactly the kind of the script for it, but it's going to come up at times. Again, it's not just a script that you're reading, but there's going to be these moments that you have the ability to do this. And you want to make sure they're framed in the right way, because some people say, oh, I'm already in a program, something like that. So this is going to help with all of that. They might have been in a program in the past where they got burned. And so this is going to frame them, because obviously they're looking for support. They're on the call.
Exactly. And one way that we've talked about this to other people is, think of it this way, like you're not stuck to this exact robotic script. It's more of a flow. And like say you know 50 dance moves and you're listening to a 3-minute song, you don't do all 50 dance moves. You decide which dance moves go with that beat, right? And so you might just be on a call and someone says, yeah, I tried some things in the past, it was hit or miss. Oh, when you say hit or miss, what were the things you did like about it? Well, I like this and this. Oh, it makes sense that you wanted support with that. Like, I mean, I have a coach, my coach has a coach. You just drop that little idea that it's smart to be open to support.
Yeah.
I gave you 3 now. Study after study shows you go farther and faster with support. Or I have a coach, my coach has a coach. I have a mentor, my mentor has a mentor. Or of course, you're going to go farther if there's a second pair of eyes helping you progress throughout your outcome that you want, right? So you're saying certain things like that. So that later when you say, so at what point did you think you might even be open to getting support again? I'm curious. They're going to give you a really good answer about why they want support again. Because you showed them that smart people get support. Can you see how that pre-frame or that setup gets you a better answer? Just so I can see hands in the air, if that makes sense, just a hand up. You guys kind of see what we're doing a little bit?
Yeah, by them just answering that question, they have to justify to themselves why they're there and when they were open to support. So they go back into their mind and they create that reference. Oh, I guess it was this when I saw this. And they explain it to you, but they're also explaining it to themselves. Absolutely key.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Antia just kind of dropped it in the chat. So you start early where they might say, I've done a program in the past, and you add in something like totally makes sense. I mean, I have a coach, my coach has a coach. You'd agreed with them. That's called agreement mode. And it's kind of like, that's what smart people do. They get coaches. That's step 1. So what's step 2? Now you ask, well, Antia just dropped in the chat. Oh, I love it. And just so I know, at what point did you kind of decide that you might be open to getting some support again? Oh, I've always wanted a coach. I'm always open to support. Oh, they're going to start convincing you why they want your help. It's something that small, but it makes a huge difference. And yes, of course, you guys are going to get the replay, so you can watch this again. And we're going to repeat a lot of this because we're going to go through it in different ways. So by me saying study after study shows you go farther and faster with support, and I'm saying that in agreement mode, right? Like, makes sense that you're looking for help, or makes sense that you got help in the past. Study after study shows you go farther and faster with support. That's me helping them feel intelligent. Do you guys kind of see that? I'm helping them feel intelligent. So I'm putting them in a more resourceful state. And so there's other ways that help people feel intelligent. And here's one of them. I'm adding in these little things like they did something and I go, oh, smart move. Just subtle, just tiny, smart move. Oh, I love it. Or I might say, oh, so you've kind of researched it already. If it's something small, like, so I started using Kajabi to build my course. Okay, so you kind of researched the best courses, just something small. So you've done the research. And I'm just putting them in this resourceful state, like they know what they're doing. They made some good decisions.
Think about this. Why would you want to label somebody? Oh, so you've already done the research. Oh, so it sounds like you've already done the research. Sounds like you've been looking into this. So they're not like, I need to do more research. And so that's going to begin to close a loop inside of their mind. Pre-handling the objection, yes. At what point did you know? Okay, that's a smart move.
Smart
So
moves.
you've already done research on this. That's great.
And so those are all positive things. You've already done the research. Study after study show. It makes sense. Oh yeah, you go farther and faster with support. Oh yeah, having a second pair of eyes is obviously going to make you, progress faster. Those are all positive. Now let's go into the other side, the negative. You can vilify behavior you don't want them to take. And I do this on every single call. I vilify the behavior before they take it. Right? So there's negative ways, and there's 3 types of ways to vilify. I'll show you the way I do it. I always say, you'd be surprised. That's my lead in. You'd be surprised. Drop that in the chat. You'd be surprised. So you really lock that in. You'd be surprised. So I say this all the time. And here's an example of how I might say it. Someone might say, yeah, so I had another coach in the past and, I got some things out of it, but, I'm potentially looking for more options. And I'd be like, you'd be surprised how many, I don't want to say like hard-headed people, but there's a lot of people who maybe try one coach and they think they're done. But coaching is something you want to continue to do. Like I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on mentors just this last year. I mean, I'm glad I don't need to kind of convince you of that, but I guess what I should ask, and then you go into the next question. You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
And then I drop what I don't want them to do.
Yeah, someone like Antia, relationship. It sounds like, you're looking for a relationship. At what point did you decide that you were going to get some support in this area of your life? Okay, it's crazy. People come to me because they want to get in a relationship, but you'd be surprised how some people who want support for their life aren't willing to get support in finding the person to support them in their emotions. So crazy. So we're vilifying that behavior.
That's good. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Now, the other one, I told you there's 3 types of vilification. Choose which one is more aligned with you or have a couple ready. I always just do, you'd be surprised. There's also one that our buddy Chase Hughes uses, and he also teaches people at government agencies this is, I'm glad I'm talking to you. And then he'll address behaviors towards that identity. I'm glad I'm talking to you because there's some, closed-minded people who just aren't open to X, Y, or Z. After they just opened up about something. I'm glad I'm talking to you because there's these like, I don't want to say closed-minded, but these people who just aren't open to getting support. And you can't help those people. Or those people are always going to be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I'm talking.
And remember that too, the unconscious mind doesn't process negative. So if I'm talking about, say, a competitor, well, I'm not going to say they're unethical. I'm just saying that. So I didn't say it. I said it, but I didn't say it. Well, I'm not going to say that would be a bad choice. Certainly, some people, I know some people go to them, but really what I think you want to ask yourself is, and then we take the focus off of them. So I'm not saying they're bad, not saying that wouldn't work for you. So, but it still puts the thought there.
I don't want to say hard-headed.
So it's really like, these are just for, will too many negatives sink the boat? No, it's very slight. It's very subtle. And it's just deframing against the identity. I see you want some support with this. You'd be surprised how many people, trying to make a smart move, but they just want to figure it all on their own. Yeah, I'm so glad I'm talking to you. You're obviously very smart.
Yeah. Or you could do it with anything. You're selling freaking ads to get them more leads. Okay. And you said you had a goal of getting 30 quality leads per week. How long have you had that goal? For the last 2 or 3 months. Okay, great. You'd be surprised how many people, they've been trying to do this for like years and they haven't got support. You'd be surprised for these people who wait years. Or it's a fitness thing. Yeah, I've been wanting, hurt my leg and finally have a little bit of time. Oh yeah, when did the doctor clear you? A couple of weeks ago. Oh, you'd be surprised how many people wait 6 months and by then they have all these other issues that have kind of stacked, and it's a disaster at that point.
Yeah, it's like you've been looking for 3 months. You'd be surprised how many people wait years. And it's like, pretty smart dude Albert Einstein always said, just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is what? Yeah, it's insanity, but that's what people do. They just go 3, 4, 5 years just doing the same thing. Glad you're here.
Yeah, so good. And the third one, this one is, I think Tony Robbins has been showing this since like the 80s, is the can you believe? And so selling, I know Andrew Arnold was in the room selling anything like chimneys, and someone's like, yeah, it's been X amount of time since I wanted this. Can you believe there's some people who wait 15 years until it collapses and now they have 10 times the amount of expenses that they have to fix? Obviously, prevention is way X, Y, Z, right? And obviously an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, or whatever it is. Can you believe there's these people?
Yeah.
Right. So kind of recap, vilification is a really powerful way to get a behavior or to prevent a behavior you don't want them to take. You'd be surprised is the way I like to do it. I'm so glad I'm talking to you is the way some others do it. Or another option is could you believe?
Could you believe? Could you believe some people would pay good money to be on a course like this and then not do their homework? Isn't that stupid? Because I know you all did it. I mean, isn't that just the dumbest thing? Somebody would like get all this knowledge and learning and then like wouldn't take the time to actually ingrain it by just doing a little bit of homework each week. Isn't that just the dumbest thing?
Oh, I don't want to say hard-headed. I would not say that.
I'm not going to say that. We're not going to say that because we know, I mean, obviously if you're here, you're the kind of people, I mean, you're smart, you're really smart people. And I know just the fact that you're here, it means you're going to get a result.
It's so good. So let's go in a couple tactics that you can use to help people feel reasonable. One of them is just make sense. As you're saying, so yeah, makes sense. Simple, makes sense. And you might be noticing it's not just that it helps them feel reasonable. I'm encouraging these people to talk more. People are often afraid to talk. You have so many times I get on these call reviews where I'm listening to a call recording and the person's not open at all, but it's your fault. It's your responsibility to make them open, to open them up. And so you have to encourage people to talk. And so if you're saying make sense, oh yeah, you're totally, I love it. Smart move. Okay, cool. You're saying things that make them feel like they're not an idiot. They're going to be more likely to talk. But if the first time someone opens up and they go, yeah, it sucks because I just, I'm not making the money that I want to make. Well, I just want to hold you accountable. What's preventing you from becoming the decision maker and being the leader you need to be for your family? Like you just went way too hard, way too strong. And now you shrunk that person and they feel stumped and they're not going to open up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we want to, obviously ask great questions, but getting people to open up sometimes it's just these little statements that open them up. Well, that's reasonable. And they'll keep on talking. Or that must have been really challenging for you. And they'll go further. So you don't have to interrogate them with questions. It's these little things. I completely agree. That makes sense. And they'll expand.
So one thing that I do is, again, it's always in agreement mode. So if someone will just tell me their goal, whatever it is, whatever I'm selling, I'm like, it's refreshing to hear someone that actually knows their actual goals. A lot of times people aren't even sure what they need. And I'll just squeeze that in. And it makes them more talkative about their goals because I'm complimenting. It's refreshing to actually hear someone that actually knows their goals. A lot of times people don't know what they need at all. But what word am I actually squeezing in there? If you notice what they need, they now are agreeing in their brain that they need this.
Yeah.
The filter is not there because if I did it the other way, here's an alternative that does not work. So you're telling me you need some of my support. No, that's not going to work. Right. But it's like, it's refreshing to actually hear someone that actually knows their goals. You'd be surprised how many people I talk to that don't know what they need. And they're just like kind of stuck. Like those people are never going to get help unless they're actually open to knowing what they want. So thank you for sharing that. I guess it would be good for me to ask and then ask whatever's next on the framework or your questions.
That was a huge label there. Go back over that bit.
That can be huge for you. It's really important. I'll give you one more around the need. I did this on a call recently. Someone was saying something along the lines of, they need to be able to hire more people because older people on their company retire and they need to fill a gap and so they want to be able to hire people quickly. And it's just something small. And so I'm like, okay, so there's definitely a need to kind of fill these gaps. And it's just like, there's a need to kind of fill these gaps because they're saying they need to fill gaps. Okay, so there's a definitely need to kind of fill these gaps. They go, yes. And then I said, is this something you kind of known for a while or is this need kind of been like a new realization? So is this something you've known for a while or is this or has this need been a new realization? So now twice they told me it's a need. They need this.
That's huge. That's huge.
But it's like, it's me trying to understand what they're explaining to me, right? They said it and I'm just trying to understand. It's a totally different dynamic.
Did you realize you need it for a short time or for a long time? Either answer, it's kind of a double bind. It's like they're saying they need it.
And Eli will go into a double bind is a little bit later, but really important, what you need. It's subtle. Okay. So the helpful one, this is really powerful because the first two that we went over are just kind of a resourceful state to put people in, but I really like helping people feel that they're helpful because it really tugs on that identity and their purpose in life. That's when you're really not selling a product, right? When you're selling like where they fit in the world. And so I love to help people feel helpful, no matter what it is, right? It could be a dad buying a chimney and they feel like they're creating a foundation and a secure, safe environment for their family. Boom, they're helpful. It could be selling leads so they can make more money so that they can create high quality jobs for the people below them, right? It could, whatever it is, there's always some bigger identity. And so I always want people to help them. Everyone always at some point says it's not just about them. They want to do it for their kids or their family or someone's future or their parents or their team, or because they have a product that they think is going to change the world. Everyone feels like they're contributing. I just want to bring the light to that. Agreement mode. Let's make sure you guys are with us. Spacebar it down. Everyone hold down spacebar. Say agreement mode one more time.
Agreement mode.
Agreement mode.
All right. So here's one way, and some of you have heard me do this, but I don't think any of you are probably doing it enough. It's so important to use this one. And see if you notice the secondary frame, because I'm saying something, but there's almost like a secret thing that I'm saying at the same time. It's in agreement mode, but someone says like, yeah, I want to just be able to spend more time with the kids, or I want to be able to create high quality jobs for my team, or I want my product to go out to the world and help more people. It's something like that. They're going to say something somewhere along the lines. And then I go, totally makes sense, right? Because like at the end of your life, no one's ever laying on their deathbed thinking, I wish I worked more hours, I wish I made more money. They think about like what you're saying. They think about the people they helped or their memories or the impact they had. Like that's what really matters. And I find a way to get that on every single sales call. So I'm going to do it again. Totally makes sense, right? No one's ever laying on their deathbed thinking, I wish I worked more hours. They don't think about that, or I wish I made more money. They think about, like you said, their quality of time or the experiences they had with their friends or their family or the things they did, like their memories. Like that's what really matters. And their head is always nodding because we've been through so many agreements already, and I'm agreeing with them about what really matters. It's also true. Time matters more than anything. Experiences matters more than anything. But me locking them in on that is really important because I did one thing there. I said, no one's going to think about the hours I worked or I wish I made more money. What am I doing to money? I'm minimizing what money means in their mind, and I'm maximizing what impact means or what memories mean.
And time. Yeah.
Yeah. And why is that so important? Well, in just a few moments, I'm going to ask them to pay me $50,000 or whatever it is, right? So that they can have a better quality of time. They can have a better life, a better future, more memories, more impact. And so I'm getting their brain down that frame of what's more important. But I locked them in and I got them to agree to it. One more time, Eric, and you'll get the replay. I see it in the chat asking one more time. So totally makes sense. Like no one's ever laying on their deathbed thinking, I wish I worked more hours, or I wish I made more money. But just like you said, they think about like the time they spent with their kids. Like that's what really matters, right? The memories, the experiences, like their impact in the world. Like that's, and I'm glad I don't need to convince you, like that's really what it's about. It's something along those lines. Of course, you're going to change it based off the person, but that frame is huge. It's so huge, and it's true. Time is more.
Yeah, they might have
important.
just said they're wanting to buy an investment property to get some more money. So, that's so important to have access to that now, so it ultimately frees you for your time. Nobody says this at the end of their life. What they say is this. And so it's just showing them, it's framing them how this can get them more of what they want.
Mm-hmm. You having that investment property, is it so you have more passive income, or you just don't have to worry, so you have less stress in your life around money, whatever it is, and then it goes to a bigger thing after that. Cool. Let's keep going down to the next part. So those are the first three. I gave you a bunch of examples. The next part is making sure people feel open to support. And it kind of was blended with what we talked about earlier, right? Study after study shows you go farther and faster with support. So that's part of it. We want to make sure people feel open to support. And so I'm just going to recap some of those in case you guys missed some of them earlier. Like study after study show you go farther and faster with support. So it makes sense. So I'm like agreeing with them. It makes sense, like what you're saying. One thing you might have noticed is I'll add this sometimes based off the type of person is like, yeah, I have a mentor. My mentor has a mentor. Like all the top people, they always have like coaches, right? And I'm glad I don't need to convince you of that. And sometimes I'll say that to a significant person. It's someone who is proud, someone who is an entrepreneur, someone who sees themselves as like, I don't need any help. Because I'm like, I'm glad I don't need to convince you of it. And someone who's badass that doesn't need to be convinced of anything is going to be like, of course you don't need to convince me of that. I got that locked down. I already understand that, how important it is to have a mentor. And so I'm
Huge.
playing with it a little bit where he's like, screw you. I already knew that. Subtle, but this is now the more advanced personality selling that we want to talk to you guys about over the weeks. Is this fun stuff for you guys? Is it fun? You guys like it? Pretty cool
Fun.
stuff, right?
Yeah, Marco's getting it. Awesome.
Cool. And then again, they're intelligent driven. Makes sense. Study after study show, blah, blah, blah. Just by saying study after study. I mean, the research shows you're going to go a lot faster if you have a second pair of eyes on you. I mean, it's obvious. You're like, right. It's obvious. So at what point did you think you might even be open to getting support? Oh, I mean, I always want to coach. That's one thing about me. You'll know, like, I'm always looking for support. They're going to feed into that because it's so obvious that smart people do that.
Oh.
You guys see it? So key. You're just locking them in on these labels, and then they're going to create decisions based off the type of person they are. This crazy part is last week we talked about people don't really have it exactly dialed in exactly who they are. So it's very easy to help guide them to become the person that is more likely to sign up. Okay, so let's go into some timing frames. I know we're going through a lot, but I can see just by your guys' body language that we're interested. So I'm going to go through just a few more, then we'll stop and get some feedback. Let's go into some timing frames. Because again, people might be open to support, right? They might say, Nikki, this is awesome. I trust you. I've done the research. I know I need the help. This is great. This is a good decision. I've done the research. I know I want to do this. It's just probably something I don't make decisions on the spot. It's just not my nature. I like to kind of think about things, you know, assess my situation. Can you send me like an email so I can kind of get a little bit more? You can start getting those type of things if you don't pre-handle it. So let's pre-handle it. One quick thing is just remember, people make decisions based off the information in their head. So it helps them to remember the truth. The truth is time goes by quick. And I'll say that there's always some moment that sounds like this, where you go, and how long have you been out of college? 10, like 11 years now. Time goes by quick, doesn't it? Totally does. I just dropped that really subtle, time goes by quick, doesn't it? Or when did you first open the business? Actually it's 2015. So seven years ago. 7 years. Okay. So time goes by quick, doesn't it? Yeah, it totally does, man.
Yeah.
Boom. So tight. That's that little thing. It helps. Again, these are a series of more likelies. They might say, yeah, I'm just feeling so much like I'm wearing a lot of hats with my business right now. And I'm kind of stuck doing like the dirty work, like office hours. And I know I should be focusing on like not working like, you know, in my business, but more like on my business. They might say something like that. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing those $10 an hour jobs, right? Like successful people realize time is the most valuable resource. So I'm glad I don't need to convince you of that. Time is the most valuable resource. And by the way, we will get you guys a list of all of these, but I also don't want to share it to you right now because then you'll just see reading ahead. And so I'm glad you're taking notes.
They're all scripted out, but you know, it's like, hey, so how long you had kids? Well, time goes by really quick. How long have you been married? Time goes by really quick. Or so you've got a young person. Wow, it's so great. You're 18 and you know, you're just starting in sales. You'd be surprised how many 50-year-olds still struggling with this. They just wait and wait and wait. You're making a great decision because, you know, time goes by really quick. And so you're at the perfect spot.
Exactly.
So just time goes by quick. And they're like, man. And so it makes them, they agree. and it's making them feel like they need to do something now. So they're justifying it to themselves. Time's quick. And it's true. And again, it's true. So this is ethical to do.
Everything we're doing is going to be true, right? And again, so now you guys are probably noticing how I'm combining a lot of these. You're right. Successful people realize time is the most valuable resource. So they're all starting to blend together if you notice. You're right. Successful people realize time is the most valuable resource. So I'm glad I don't need to convince you of that. So for you though, what's the rationale of potentially wanting to look at getting this outcome now versus, waiting till like next quarter?
That's a huge question. What's the rationale behind, I guess, want to do this now instead of just putting it off till later? So as soon as they answer that question, they tell themselves, why now?
And why did they give you such a good, sorry, Eli.
No, just saying it's a giant question. They have to justify to themselves why now and not later.
It's a giant question that we gave them baby steps up the ladder to get to though, right? It's
Yeah.
like, we
You
just
need to
reframed
understand
them.
Yeah. Understand why you're asking the question.
Yeah. And you just lock them in that time goes by quick. You got them to understand that time goes by quick. You've got them to lock in that successful people realize time is the most valuable asset, but you said it like you're agreeing with them. Makes sense. Cause I mean, you're right. Time is the most valuable asset. I'm glad you kind of have that mindset. For you though, what's the kind of rationale? Do you see now when you ask that question, they're going to be like, here's why I want it now versus waiting, because they just told you, they just told their own brain why it's so important to move now, because time goes by quick. And that's what successful people realize. So here's the tricky part. And I hope you guys are seeing how epic this is. People will watch some call recordings, sometimes of mine on our private trainings that we do. And they'll say, again, I wish my clients were that easy. I wish my prospects were like that. We're turning them into that person, right? Because we're setting them up and pre-framing it so that they'd answer that way. Hope you guys are seeing that.
Yeah. And I used to always do this with my audiences as well. If you're speaking one to many, I'd say, why do you think people struggle in business? Is it because there's like no lack of is it because there's no opportunities in the world? Or is it people just haven't learned how to maximize the opportunities that are all around us? Which do you think it is? And because of the way that they emphasize it, they say people just haven't learned. And I say, I think you're right. In fact, you're more right than you even know. You should trust your intuition on that. It will rarely ever misguide you. And so what we're here to do today is help you align with all the opportunities you're not seeing. So I just framed what this is. And I said, I think you're right. In fact, you're more right than you even know. You should trust your intuition on that. But I said, is it this thing? No. Or it's obviously this thing. They say it's this thing. And the way I frame the question makes them buy into it. And they have to own the fact that they're not seeing opportunities. You're right. You're more right than you even know. So what today is all about is so you can have access to the thing that you just said that you don't have.
Boom.
So we're doing it relatively slow. I talk fast and we'll go through this. And yes, you'll be able to read through it. But when I do them, we spin them off really quick. But it's like, you want to get comfortable with this language, know why you're saying what you're saying. And there's going to be moments in every call. This is where we're closing those loops inside of the prospect's mind, framing them with an identity. And it's very subtle, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, I think like Eli talked about, two people can have the same script and get totally different results. Well, this is it. This is a lot of the little nuances that make the difference, right? Like a great question that you guys have probably seen before is like, if you did find the right fit, when would you possibly be looking to achieve these results? But sometimes you ask it in a weird time, right? And it's just, it sounds scripted and they're like, well, it'd have to be a good fit. Why, what do you guys offer? And you're like, how come the question didn't work? Well, it's because you asked it in a weird time, but if you prep it like we just showed you, and then you ask it, it's going to be like, well, I always want to do things now. Like, that's how I move. Like, that's why I've had success in the past. I move now because you turn them into that person. Right. Same type of question. Like, is this something that is has this been like a stack of reasons you want to do this? Or is this like a relatively new goal that you have? Like those type of questions you'll see on people's scripts, but they don't always land because they don't set it up right. So that pre-frame is really important. I know Eli is going to go in just a moment. He has a list of a couple of things. other like tactics that we can read off for you. We're also going to list it in the homework for you. But just for some feedback, I want to hear from you guys. What are some things that maybe stood out to you, some aha moments, some new things, or some different angles that you saw today that you think could be helpful for you? If you can, just hit the reaction button on the bottom. Hit the reaction button, and then you could hit raise hand. And as you're doing that, raise your hands if you're able to jump in any of that. One final thing that we like is the idea of self-selection frames.
This is my
Self-selection
favorite.
frames.
This is my absolute favorite. And so
Eli's
I
the king
do
of this on one to
all
many.
the time. It's like, even when I did like in the one to many, Mr. Sanchez here signed up for my sales course 2 years ago. I did like a 3-hour webinar, and right at the beginning, the way I framed it, I said, in order to get where you want to go, you have to be really honest about where you are. A map from, say, California to New York does you no good if you're in Texas. So I want to show you how you can get where you want to go, but first you got to be really honest about where you are. And so there's 4 different levels to this game of sales. There's green, you sound like this, you look like this, you make this kind of money. There's performer, you sound like this, you look like this, you make this kind of money. There's leader, you sound like this, you look like this, you make this kind of money. And there's expert. And so I had everybody select where they are. And there was like a dotted line. And most people said they were at the lower levels. I said, see that dotted line? That means you're in the danger zone. It means these people at the top can take your clients at any time. So you really want to be aware of what I'm going to talk about here today, especially if you're at the lower, if you're in the lower 2. A couple of you said you're here and you want to find somebody that can take you there. By the way, you don't want to find somebody who's at the same level than you. You want to find somebody who's above you at the very top, if you can find somebody like that. But the way I described the top person, the expert, was obviously me. So I framed everything appropriately, and they were bought into the idea. But self-selection frames are huge, and you can use them all throughout.
Yeah, you should have seen Eli do this. He did a repitch in Miami recently, and the whole crowd was just going nuts. And it's just all these frames, right? Especially if you kind of label that word again, label the room. This is a high level room. This is a fun room. This is a great room. There's this group think, and everyone in the room now wants to be like everyone else in the room. Intelligent, reasonable, go-getters, successful. And then everyone chooses the person they want to be. I'm here, but I want to get to here, so I have to do this. It's really cool. And Eli's one of the best ever at it. It's really fun to watch. Thank you for all the feedback in the comments, by the way, super helpful. You could do these self-selection kind of frames on one-to-one sales calls too. And one idea to think of it is like the frame of there's 2 types of people in the world. The trick that I do is both types of people sign up with me, the frames that I create though, right? So it might be like a question you guys have heard, like, let's just use fitness, right? So you're saying you want to have like more energy and so you can play with the kids. Is your wife excited about you having more energy, or is this like a secret surprise thing? I'll do it again. So you mentioned wanting the energy for the kids. Is your wife excited about you having more energy for the kids, or is this a secret surprise thing? You've heard something like that before, but I go further with it. If they say, no, she doesn't know anything about it, I have an answer. Like, totally, man. Like, it's one of those things, like, oftentimes, the father is kind of like the foundation. They need to be there. And this is obvious, right? But a lot of people don't realize when the father has more energy, that actually benefits the whole family. And so now it's a good thing that they're doing it for themselves. Or they go, yeah, she is excited about me having more energy. That's the other side of it. And I go, dude, that is great. And by the way, I have a lot of my clients who don't have that support at first, and they still do it because they know how important it is, for themselves. But the fact that you have that support, it makes it so much easier. That's a healthy relationship, by the way. Label. That's a healthy relationship, by the way. And they always nod like, yes, I am in a healthy relationship. I'm in a supportive relationship. The person who locks themselves into that, it's really hard for them to say, I got to go get permission, when they just said that their spouse is excited about them getting these results.
And listen to that again, guys. He said, I have my clients who don't have support. I have to say his clients who don't have the support, and they do this just because they know what it's going to mean to the family. And then there's the ones that do have support, like yourself. It makes it so much easier though. And so they both end up, they're both clients.
Yeah, there's two types of people in the world. Those who don't have their spouse support and they sign up with me, and those who do have their spouse support and they sign up with me. But I create that quick little frame. There's two types of people, but it's so subtle that it's too fast for the brain to kind of comprehend it. And so either way, they still lead to the outcome that we want. You guys see it? Fun stuff, right? A lot of head nods. Cool. Let's go into some feedback, Andrew.
Did we do helpful? Did we do helpful?
Yeah, so that's kind of like the contribution, right? The whole laying on your deathbed.
Yep. I love it. Awesome. So what are some takeaways, guys? Question, takeaways?
Mr. Chris Flaughton, you're up, sir.
Yeah, a huge takeaway here is, I mean, you're agreeing the whole time, getting to like really like agree with you, but everything is being funneled down to time. Like everything is being funneled down to time, nothing else but time. And you're wrapping it up and putting a bow on it with the statement of successful people realize time is the most valuable thing. So when you go in to actually close them, they don't want to be in the unsuccessful bucket. They want to be in that successful thing. So by you agreeing with them and planting time's the most valuable, and you know, getting personal on the time piece of it, at the end of it, you're literally making themselves put them in the successful bucket without them even knowing it. That's huge.
Yeah,
Bingo.
key here, it's super conversational. Oh man, you know, it's successful people, it's not, and successful people do this. It's not like scripted, it's just super conversational and they'll just follow suit. So the tone is really important. So also your beliefs about it are going to shape your tone. If you read any NLP book, they talk about agreement frames, and there's three: yes, and, I appreciate, and, I respect, and. But those don't really work. So we've obviously expanded on them quite a bit here. The frame of agreement works, but we need to get them to tie it to their identity. We give them a little bit of logic and reason where they can really own it. And it's super conversational. The way that it's written in every book wasn't effective. We knew the technique in itself was good, but how it tactically is done just doesn't work. So this is in a way where it works all the time.
100%. And Chris brings up a really cool point. The successful people might be the word that I choose, but if I'm talking to a certain person and I realize, and we're going to go into this over the next few weeks, like the personality selling, that this person's really trying to show that they're so strong, I might change that word a little bit, right? And I might say like, it actually, like the strongest people are the people who actually ask for help, you know, or I don't want to say there's these weak people, but so many people are afraid to ask for help because strong people are not afraid. And so I'll vilify these people who are afraid to ask for help. It actually takes strength in numbers when you ask for some support. And so I'll slightly change it based off the type of person I'm dealing with, Chris, but you're exactly right. Like you're guiding them to become the resourceful person that would take the action you want. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Successful people want support. You'd be surprised how many people are afraid to ask for support. They feel like they need to do it all on their own. And they have a really tough ride, especially as an entrepreneur. It's a team sport.
Yeah, they're confused why they're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Eric, you're up.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a light bulb went on earlier. You know, one of the most annoying objections that I get, and I was annoying because I didn't know how to overcome it efficiently, is, hey, homes are overpriced, the market's gonna crash, homes are too expensive, price will drop. No matter what I do, I could, you know, travel to the future, come back with a newspaper and hit them on the head with it, they would still stick by it, right? So I guess the pre-frame would be, hey, you'd be surprised how many people say they want to buy a home, but when it's go time, they freeze, they don't do anything. So they say, well, I'll wait for prices to drop, homes are overpriced, market's gonna crash. But what they're really saying is, I'm scared to make a mistake and to look stupid. Isn't that something?
Yeah, I love it. That's so good. You already have it scripted out too.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So,
Amazing.
So good. You'd be surprised. I'm glad I'm talking to you. Can you believe there's these people who wait and all of a sudden like the interest rates go up? They don't realize that's an extra 300,000 they're paying over 30 years. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it's obvious. Like anyone would get that. I'm glad you understand.
Yeah, they
so good.
think that that's going to outpace inflation. That's the one thing we know is going up. And so if you could take out, put some money in, get a mortgage that it's going to go up just because of what's happening in inflation. That is true. Like prices are going to skyrocket still because of inflation. Just the mortgage math works. You put 20% down on a home and it's, in 20 years from now, it's say you got $1 million loan, put $200,000 in, that 800, that's what you owe, but the price over the 30 years is going to go to 2 million. So, but you're only going to owe the 800,000. Like it never makes sense to wait.
Right.
Some people just don't realize that because they're dumb.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that. But,
Don't say they're dumb. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but I'm curious, what was some of the indicators that helped you realize you might want to start looking now? They're like, well, here's why I want to look for a house now. And they'll tell
Great
you
question.
after you just set it up. Yeah, really
Yeah.
good. Good stuff. And Sarah in the chat said she's using some of this and it's already closing people. So great stuff.
Nice.
And Ben is labeling her as an action taker. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Llewellyn, you're up.
I'm glad I'm speaking to you because there's so
Oh,
many
no.
Eli's out there that, we'll just drop a list of questions and expect you just to move on with them. No, I joke, but I'm serious at the same time
Yeah.
because you flaunted the whole kind of like agreement mode with the first lesson with those 3 ones. And helpful was huge for me. And I had a couple of calls I was trying to drop like, it's great talking to you. You're so helpful that you're trying to help your family. And he was like, I'm helpful? What does that mean? I was like, back step. I was trying to like
Yeah.
use it then, but I didn't understand it at the time. But literally everything that you've done, and the way you've done it, I've been able to write it out, but like condition it to what I do, exactly the way you've done it. And so I've already got a list of 10 things now, which are going to get me going. So that's the real big thing for me. Now I understand it. I'm very encouraged.
Dude, thank you so much. One of the things Eli and we prepped a lot for this. We talked about like the way we explain it. We want to teach first in principles and understand why it works so you guys can make it your own. And then like, here's a strategy that you should deploy so you can change the words around yourself. And then finally, it's like, what are the words you say? Right. And we're teaching in that order on purpose so that you guys can make this your own and not feel like, did he say strong or did he say tough? I forget. Like you don't need to be stuck to the words as much when you understand the principles. So thank you so much, Llewellyn. Guys, give Llewellyn a round of applause. We should have given everyone a round of applause. This has been great today.
For Eric too. Woo!
Antia, you're up.
So one for me was like over the years is really knowing when to say what. So when I was like, what's the answer here, right? Like a lot of times things were not landing. And when you said like, well, it's about how you set it up, I was like, oh, that's my answer because I just didn't know like what it is. You know what I mean? I'm like, did I ask too much? Did I not ask enough? And so I didn't have I had no way of like framing this. And I've done over 2,500 sales calls. And I'm always like, okay, I have all those ways to dance with concerns. I have all those ways to do all those things, but I don't know when to say, you know what I mean? It's like just, there's like 10 different options that are flooding into my head at any given moment. And it's like, and it feels disassociated. We talked about association in the other class, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this one too. But yeah, it felt always like disassociated. And then the other thing I also liked was the whole, I have women say quite a bit that it's like sort of a hit and miss with like some of the love coaches that they hired, and to go be like, okay, well, let's focus on what did you like about it versus what you not liked about it. Because I was asking them too what they're not liked about it, so I could say how I'm different.
That's so good. And thank you for sharing that, Antia. One thing we're going to have a full day focused on like the metaphor and analogy selling, but that's like a perfect example of Antia sells relationships, right? She's helping women, find a better man. And so one thing you can say is a lot of these people have been in bad relationships. So there's like the metaphor that you can drop where it's just like totally makes sense. And I know it's always tough. I'm not saying it's easy, but in some ways it is simple because like, just because you've been in a car accident does not mean you should never get near a car again. That's not reality. But this is kind of same thing with relationships. Sometimes it feels so tough to want to get back in a relationship, but we know the truth is not all people are bad and not all men are bad. Of course not. So, but you just drop that analogy to help them feel like that alignment, like, yes, I should move forward, but it's not easy. But I wanted to hear for you, because that's obviously a strong decision you made. At what point did you think you might be open to getting some support. That person's going to be like, here's why I'm open to getting support. Because you just showed them that's how reality works, and you used a metaphor to sell them. Right. So we'll go over a full day over that. Thank you, Antia. Everyone give Antia a round of applause. Really good. Love it.
Awesome. We got up next, Marco.
Well, I'm just glad I'm here because it just really seems like you guys teach up and like you know who you're selling to or who you're teaching. So that's pretty cool. One thing that I did try to take was exactly what Chris said, and that's time or shifting time. So today I had a call and it was something that kind of triggered it. I don't know what she said, but basically I said, okay, well, if you can imagine yourself already on the beach with that mojito you talked about, like, what does life feel like now? Oh, it's great. And now we're, there for a few seconds. And then I say, okay, well, I mean, now when I'm asking you, what did it take to actually get to where you are now? What did it take? And then she just goes into the whole, well, it took a lot of training, and then, it took me being resourceful. And I'm like, oh, okay. So are you ready to be that person now? She's like, yeah.
Yes.
So,
So
just
good.
that motivation, it was like totally cool.
That is awesome. And Marco, by the way, had done a previous sales training of ours. He went 7 for 7 in sales on one of his days. And so he's killing it. And some people would have quit because they think they figured it out, but he's still here. So thank you for being here. And thank you for that feedback. Guys, let's give Marco a round of applause. That's awesome, dude. Really good stuff. Great future facing there.
Amazing.
Selling the feelings. I love it. You don't sell the features, you sell the future. Beautiful.
Payoff. Yes. Awesome. How about Mr. Josh Lyons?
Hey guys, so I just wanted to maybe get some feedback on one of the pre-frames that I was using based on the things that you went through last week and last session and this one. And so when you sort of frame the call and say, we're going to go through what you're doing now and where you want to get to, the frame I use is just to see if we could even help you, because, there's some people you can kind of lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You know what I mean by that, right? And I was just curious if you think that's good, as in it's kind of like getting them to agree that, number one, I'm going to be leading them to water. And number two, like it's on them if they don't want to drink when they get there. But I just wanted your feedback on it and how you'd improve it maybe.
My initial thought would be, it would be easier for me to listen to the call to know how it sounds. You can get away with a lot. Like you guys will see when we're going to show you a recording, we'll make sure everyone signs like the NDA. I know most of you have, by the way, so thank you for that. We'll show you a live recording where I'm like, when you see the script, you're like, there's no way he got away with saying all that. But it's so subtle, it doesn't feel so on the nose. When I first hear that, it might seem kind of obvious. They're like, okay, he's trying to guide me. He's trying to make it like, it might sound that way, but I'd have to listen to the call recording. What do you think, Eli?
I think it might be a bit much too soon. It's pretty direct. So I'd have to hear it. It depends on what was said before that.
Yes.
If he's resistant, so there's a lot of nuances there. I might save something like that. So yeah, again, we'd have to hear it. But and why do we have you guys sign an NDA? Because we are going to show you actual sales calls with private clients, and so that's why. So we can give you access to that. But it's not like a public thing. Obviously, we can't share that. But a lot of it's just in the context and where they're coming from, how they perceive you, how they perceive themselves, their problem. And so the analogy about leading a horse to water, I think it's a bit, I don't want to say direct. It might be a bit dismissive, but if you do it like, some people out there, that puts a layer to it. So it's not so directly at them. So there's ways that you can do it. In NLP, it's called the referential index or loss performative. Some people, a lot of people versus, I, we, you. So there's ways to be more indirect with language where people will still connect and it won't break rapport.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great question.
Yes, we'll beat it up. And if you have a snippet of it recorded, post in the group, I'll listen to it and give you some feedback.
Yeah, okay, I'll find that.
Awesome. Cool. Everybody give it up for Josh.
Woo! Celeste,
Miss Let, what is up?
Hey guys, first I want to say thank you for all of this wonderful stuff because this is going to help immensely with my target audience because oh my God, are they resistant to everything? But I think I used this type of framing last week in my group where I had counseled somebody and then I went back into my group and commented how it was such a pleasure working with them because they were coachable, like they were very open-minded, and I made a public statement to that effect before listening to this right here. And I got two different types of reaction. First of all, she turned around and contacted me and I signed her up as a client because I think she just felt powerful. So yay.
nice.
Signed her up as a client. But I got two other things that happened. One, I got people in my inbox asking for private consultation because they identified as being coachable as well. But then I got other people, I got probably about 5 messages from people that said, well, it's not that I'm not coachable. It's just that, you know, whatever excuse it is that, you know, that they had. And these were people that I had spoken with in the past on sales calls who did not sign up for coaching. So now I'm kind of wondering, like, is there, do you have any advice on how I can use that more when I go live in my thing, when I'm talking to people in my group, just to kind of get more people thinking about and identifying with the fact that they are coachable and that they are this type of person, so I can pre-frame everything that I'm saying to get them all to hit me up so that I don't have to do as much selling. They can just come and just hand me all of their money because that would make my life easier. I'm just saying.
Yes.
We, Eli and I have some things planned for like one-to-many. Again, the focus, of course, is 1-to-1, but a lot of this you can use 1-to-many, and Eli's one of the best in the world at it. And there's a whole speaker training program that we have around how to do this to your Facebook group, on your Facebook lives, on webinars, VSLs, 5-day challenges, all of that. But yeah, we'll go into a couple of the frames that you can use that Eli is a master at that work really well for one-to-many.
If people are also reaching out and saying, well, it's not that I'm not coachable, said, let's hop on a quick call. I'll give you some insights and not just what you need to do, but how you need to think to keep you moving forward. You open to that? And so that's going to be a sales call. And so you're going to resell them on that call since they're so coachable.
That's it. 100%. Two quick things. One, oh, someone's in the waiting room. There you go. One is what, you know, Josh is asking about, like the leading the horse to water. One thing that Eli taught me is just changing the position. There's perceptual positions, but there's also hiding things in stories, or if you get them to tell you something, like if you get them to tell you how they handled a client or things they didn't like about it, you could add, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you lead a horse to water, but they might not see it. You could say it in a different angle where it's not you telling them that. It works really well. Or you hide it in a story. Like one of my coaches one time was like, it was right there in front of me. And it's almost like you think of like you could lead a horse to water, but I was resistant. And you could say it like your own self. And so there's ways to hide it in stories we'll go over soon when we do the metaphor day. And then, yeah, so someone in the chat was asking about did we go over the helpful frames? That's the whole, at the end of your life, you're laying on your deathbed, you realize what matters, your impact, your memories, helping people, right? That's what helping is. Yeah. And there's more. We'll drop some more.
Yeah, we got a whole sheet of these just for time's sake, because we want to keep these to an hour. You know, I'm just going to mention really quick some things that I did on a sheet that's going to have some of your homework, but I'm going to add, once you go through this sheet and you go over and you reread and practice what Eli just went over, look at those, make them your own. So for each one of those frames, and you're going to get them written out, rewrite them and make them your own. And so and you might have a script initially, but these things don't come out in a scripted process. They're little things throughout. So you want to ingrain them inside of you. So I would write them out. I would say them out loud. I would practice them, and I would make them your own with your own tonality, make them conversational. So it's not weird. And the first like 10 times that you say it, it might be a little weird because it's the first time, 10 times you said it. So I would practice saying each one more than 10 times. So it just feels natural for you. And if they are new words out of your mouth, well, obviously they're not going to connect it the same way as if you've said it 1,000 times. So you want to get your practice out, not on sales calls, before the sales calls. And so one thing's going to be saying it linguistically. Another thing is just understanding why you're saying what you're saying and what you're doing to frame somebody in their identity. So that's what we're doing. And so I'm just going to read through this really, really quick. There's some frames that you want to understand. One is the meaning frame. So I wrote out what that is, but for all of you, as you're understanding frames, how you're framing the prospect, every once in a while, you might get resistance or you might get an objection. They are going to happen to you. One of the key frames that I want you to understand is the meaning frame. So you've heard me say this before, nothing has any meaning except for the meaning that you give it. And so when somebody does have resistance or they pause or they're resistant in some way, you need to create a positive meaning about yourself, about them, about life. You don't want to create some disassociative negative meaning. And so we want to make sure that when you have anything in your communication in life, where usually you might have a negative response or emotion to it, just automatically ask yourself the question, what else could this mean? Might just mean I need to ask a couple more questions, might mean that they're having a bad day, might mean something, but we want to make sure that we frame it in a way that empowers us to keep on going resourcefully through that communication. And so again, Mother Teresa said this, all communication is a loving response or a cry for help. And sometimes that response might not be so loving. And so without them blatantly asking for help, if they're resistant to me, that is another cry for help. So you want to make sure that the meaning that you attach to all of your communication is positive and it moves you forward and it allows you to feel good about the process, not to be a victim of circumstance, but somebody that uses communication and framing and understanding and compassion and this identity selling stuff to empower you by empowering other people. So the meaning is going to be really, really important. And so that's going to be something that I talk about a lot as we go throughout. But if you can be, as I say, human beings are meaning-making machines. If you can make everything in your life, all of your communication mean something positive and that everything serves you, it will. If everything makes you a victim of the leads or the past or this thing, it doesn't matter how good the script or the process or the training is, you need to really understand the meaning inside of your own mind. And so really quick, I'm going to go through some of the frames. They're going to be yes on the homework and there's examples through this, but one is the because frame. So I often will tell you to do something because, and so there's been countless studies from Starbucks to copiers. And I know that Robert Cialdini put in his book, Influence, if somebody is told to do something, they might or might not do it. But if I tell you to do it because, and I give you a reason for doing it, you're more likely to do it. And so there's countless studies out there, but I just want you to be aware of the because frame. And I've got some exercises there, just making this really clear. Law of contrast, we're going to go into that. Reciprocity. So these are principles, and I've scripted some of these things out that I say, but what you want them to do, reciprocity, contrast, because frame, you want to ingrain these principles and they will frame your communication in a way that allows you to be more powerful and give people more choice. Double binds, that's something you're going to want to go over. And the key distinction after you give somebody a double bind is you keep on talking. Do you want this or do you want that? Which one sounds like it could benefit you the most? And so I'll keep on going afterwards. So I got some examples in this document as well. Social proof. These are the principles from Robert Cialdini. You want to ingrain these: commitment and consistency. And, some keys here on framing. You want to be a state inducer. The key to being successful with all of this is going to be your learning how to frame things in the mind of your prospect, including their identity. So this will be a theme throughout the entire program. Frames create focus. Focus creates feelings, and feelings always precede action. And so we're doing this specifically to lead people to action, but sometimes we've got to go deeper and really get them focusing where we want, because that's going to produce the emotions that we want and the identity that we want. So we're shifting their perspective. So I listed out a bunch of my favorite frames in here, and I went a bit deeper into pre-framing. You want to kill the monster while it's a baby. So we're pre-framing them, how to think about themselves, how to think about you. So a lot of pre-frame examples, and we're going to go really deep into reframes. Reframes is where we change the meaning, change the context. So I'll spend 2 weeks just on reframes. I'm going to give you countless examples of any type of reframe that you could imagine. But the point of today, labeling, identity, and a deeper understanding of what frames are that are shifting focus, therefore shifting feeling, and moving people towards your product, service, or offer. So that's it. We wanted to make this tight. I'm going to put the homework inside of the group. And Mr. Sanchez, is there any other distinctions or any other thoughts that you wanted to leave folks with?
I think that's it. Within 24 hours, we'll get the recording posted in the group for you guys. We'll get some homework posted within 24 hours, and we love you. Thank you guys. You guys are the best.
Love you guys. Awesome.
Cheers.
Have a powerful day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.